I want to welcome you to the League of Women Voters of Cupertino, Sunnyvale Coffee Hour. And we are excited this morning to have as our speaker, Tara Martin-Milius, the Executive Director of Leadership Sunnyvale. She will be doing the presentation, and after her presentation, we will have time for Q&A. So I'm going to turn it over now to Tara.
Thank you very, very much, Marianne. As the director of Leadership Sunnyvale, we more recently created updated our purpose. And our purpose is creating capacity for principled and effective community leadership. That is what we are all about. And in order to do that, part of what we're doing, the click doesn't there. It was originally formed for that purpose, and it was like more than 38 years ago now, with more than 750 graduates. We have alumni that are serving on all our boards, commissions, councils, and other community organizations and nonprofits. Our target class size is about 25, about a third business, about a third nonprofits, about a third government, advocates, and our civically engaged residents. So that's what the classes are generally made of. And my goodness, we are a 501c3, so we are blessed to have a lot of different kinds of supporters in our classes, for our classes, and they also participate in our classes many times. So these are, you can see there are both for-profits, nonprofits, and not-for-profits. Very, and all of them support Leadership Sunnyvale and so the program, it depends on how things fall out in terms of in terms of all the holidays. So we are either 8 to 10 months each year on the second or third Fridays of the month, and it is 8 full days of civic information. So we take people around and to the various sites in Sunnyvale and sometimes in the region too. And of course, have our civic speakers, our city managers, and our elected officials and people like that. And we also have 24 to 30 hours of leadership training, which is separate from that, but it tries to knit various kinds of skills that you need for community leadership into the program, and that is also relevant to the civic days, also relevant to whatever the projects are that people choose to do. In each project, all the projects, of course, have a public benefit. We always did ride-alongs as part of the class before, and it has been closed since COVID and has just recently opened up. So our class this year won't be required to have a ride-along or a sit-along, but they can certainly do it. We will reinstate that next year because it is our DPS is police, fire, and EMT all rolled together, and it's different than other cities. Mostly in the nation, we were the first one to do that. I think there's 1 or 2 more that now do that. And what that benefits us with, of course, is a fast response and somebody who's competent in all of those areas. And of course, then we have our public benefit kinds of projects that our people do, and hopefully have some fun doing it. So why do we do all this stuff? Well, we're all in this together. all our residents, all our businesses, all our nonprofits, we're all in this together. And we have to coexist with our government, which is constrained by a lot of different laws, as you might know. And for any municipality to function well, people have to understand the basis for it and how the ecosystem works. And of course, that's what Leadership Sunnyvale tries to do, is to create that ecosystem so people know where to go for whatever process that they would like to do, whatever advocacy or business issue they might have. So we're looking at that. And these are actual pictures from various classes that we have had over the years of places we have gone and things that we have done. We are focused largely on what is the long-term impact on things. What kinds of communities do we wish to create? And what do we want to, what do people want to, how can we best support people to create those communities that they want? And so I've been doing this for 7 years now, and we are starting to see some of the longer term impacts of that, including the last 3 elected officials for our council were all members of Leadership Sunnyvale current classes. We have alumni who serve as trustees on school boards and on ones that we share with Cupertino as well. I am trying to get people across borders because our problems are not just citywide, they are regional. So I'm inviting people from Cupertino and from Mountain View and other places to join us in our activities. Because as you say, the school districts go across all of our municipalities. Here we also in Sunnyvale, we also have alumni who are serving on every board and commission. We have at least one person, and our sustainability commission at last count was all Leadership Sunnyvale alumni. And so you're also seeing them pop up on regional boards and the commissions that are the water district, the special districts that we have around, and others that we're looking at here. So what we're looking to do is magnify the impact that people want to have long term on our city and on their communities. And these are public benefit projects. They're the most nicely visual that I have. These are from one of the first classes where the requirement was that the projects, the public benefit projects, be completed within the time frame of the class itself. That was the last time we did that, because most people are championing projects that are much longer term, and bicycle trails, for instance, or bicycle boulevards. Those were 2 that were long term. The safety of bicycles on Maud, that was one that was LinkedIn. Our LinkedIn people wanted to do that. The people, Katie Farrick, who was in the class at the time, wanted to do that, and they went ahead and started the project, and then the city said, "Oh, thank you so much. We will take it over from here and make it work for you." So it was became then a public-private enterprise, and of course that took more than a year to do. So that's what we also found, that almost all of our people had things that they were looking at, poverty and hunger and big issues, and their projects weren't really short-term projects. And sometimes they were aligned with their work and sometimes they were not. So we wanted to make it available so people could align their public benefit projects with their work. If that was desirable, they could have it as long as they wanted to. So we're really looking at what are kind of project plans and steps that people want to take in terms of where they want to go with our public benefit projects. So we've had them all over, from education and art, and a lot of things around environment. And our themes, our overarching themes, are climate and equity in the broadest sense of those. So that, in addition to whatever else we're teaching, those are underlying purposes and themes of what we're doing. We do survive by corporate benefits, and we have various levels of those from $25,000 and down to $1,000 and so forth. We do recognize our sponsors with logos and so forth, and you probably noticed your own logo uh, on our sponsor page there because of the in-kind services that you provided to us in our political day and putting on the mock forum. So that is also the kind of sponsorship that we hope to get from our various participants in the community. And of course, the benefits are always working better with the city and knowing who to connect. And our network, the network is the basis for everything, I think. And that is the long-term impact also that people appreciate having is knowing who to connect, how to connect, and when it would benefit them to connect. And of course, right now we are just finishing up our cohort for 2024, and we will be um, opening applications. Uh, In fact, we already have our first applicant for the class of 2025, which will start in September. So that is a brief overview of what Leadership Sunnyvale does and what its aspiration is, and where we're hopeful of helping people get in their lives and their volunteerism and public service.
Well, thank you so much, Tara. I'm sure there are some questions from our participants. Uh, any questions coming up right now?
How about any comments? Since you just heard my spiel and some of you have been in the class, if you find something you disagree with or agree with, go ahead and say.
Let's see. Why don't you stop screen sharing, Tara? And there we see the audience now. Okay.
Okay, I have a question, Tara. You mentioned how you have a balance of a third
Yes.
this and et cetera. How do you manage that? Do you ever have a problem with too many in one of your categories?
Well, yeah, of course.
What if you have more than enough that can fit in the room?
Yeah, well, um, I don't have a problem with oversubscription at this time, put it that way. And I do actively pursue, you could say, people who are less likely to come forward and take steps. So that means women of color largely. So I do invite people. When I meet people that are civically engaged and want to go further and are interested in anything, I of course invite them. But I do try to keep a rough gender balance, and those are my target balancing act for both good information and good networking in with groups that you might and people that you might not otherwise have met, so that we get that a balance of different entities. So it's not all business people or it's not all nonprofits, something like that, because that's not what the city is. The city is all of us together.
What other criteria do you usually use for people to participate in the program?
My criteria is to be civically engaged. So we have dedicated learners in the class. It's not somebody that I've shanghaied and said, you got to be here. So they're committed to the time and energy that it requires to put in.
And is there a tuition cost?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. The cost is $1,600. It was $1,600 in 1985 when it was first started, and it's still $1,600. So most of the other groups have upped it from that. But part of our partnership and sponsorship with the city is that one of the underlying themes is that money should never be the block to taking the class. So if you can afford to pay, that's wonderful, and we take the full tuition. If you cannot, you can let me know and we will work out something. So that money should not be the stopper for this. This should not be the constraint or the barrier.
Hi, I have a question. You said that the classes met on Fridays. How many hours is it generally, or what does the schedule typically look like?
Okay, so the Fridays are typically all day. And then we have a leadership segment that is also the following Thursday evening on Zoom. So those are usually 3.5 to 4 hours. However, it's not just once a month sometimes, because we have the class is kind of front loaded. There's a lot of things you need to know up front. So land use is a biggie. And so we do have an all day land use simulation. So that's a full day. It's also on a Friday. Isn't it? I think so. Yeah, I think I try to have it on a Friday. We also have some other days that are optional. The city workshops on strategies, the one on study issues and budget proposals, and the one on the budget. All of those are optional all-day workshops for the city. And of course, some people are able to participate, some people are not. So that is optional. It is also optional. We have a trip that goes up to Sacramento and meets with our assembly Congress members up there, and takes a tour of the Capitol and sees what a committee room looks like on how they manage their stuff. So it's kind of an informational, kind of a fun tour, and that's coming up for us. That's also optional. And again, we're trying to get some people from Cupertino and other adjacent cities. Right now, we have about 40 people in a 55-person bus. So, and I haven't opened it to my alumni yet, because I'm not sure we're going to have room for anybody else with the last 15 seats, but we'll see. So, Diana, to go back to your question, it is always going to be a day and a half a year, a month. You will have other times that you are asked to participate as well. And I think in November, I think we had 2 Fridays of the month, and we didn't have an evening one. So we try to balance it a little bit, but yeah, it is a commitment.
Yeah, I was just asking because for people that are working, that's like
That's
tough.
right. It
Yeah.
is a commitment. And we have several people in the class who have full-time jobs, and they are taking vacation time on their Fridays and trip days and things like that. So, and by
Got
the
it.
way, our
Okay.
age range is from 20 to over what I am, which is quite old.
I have a question. And Sunnyvale may be the perfect community. There are other communities where there are groups that are present that do a lot of disinformation. And I do try to listen to those people, but I want to better understand how to better interact with them. And I would think anyone wanting to be a leader would want to know how to listen to them, but also still maintain truth. And I
Yes.
wondered if your class covers that.
Surprisingly enough, it does, and that just happens to be part of our next lesson, part of our next building. And what I would recommend to you, and what I teach, is well, it's also facilitative training. Okay, because this is community. You have lots of responsibilities, and you don't have any authority over anybody, right? So it's always going to be herding cats, and the dialogic approaches to advocacy and inquiry are the relevant resources. And the where it was first popularized was in the fifth discipline, Peter Senge. In the, gosh, that was a long time ago now.
Yes, it was.
But it still is relevant, and it has been built out a lot more. But he did the basic research is in his field book, and that the my advice, if you just need one idea out of that, how do you listen to people? Well, you listen, and listening is the key, is the first key. The second key is to get down to what is their, what are they getting? What are they trying to do? What do they believe? And for that, I would recommend, I think everybody here is, almost everybody here, Diana, you're probably not old enough to remember Columbo, the kind of rumpled up detective, and he always got the bad guy, but it was always by putting himself like he was a not too bright. And he was always saying, well, help me understand, I just don't get. So I would recommend the Columbo approach for these kinds of things, to get down to, okay, and that doesn't, how does, I, does, I don't see it that way. Help me understand how you got to that. Those kinds of things are taking people down from the highest of their kind of vocalizations of what they're doing, down to what is really underneath that. So it is the dialogic approaches that I appreciate the most in these things. And these are also, everybody can use them in facilitative work. And we have a lot of kind of dialogic formulas, you could say. How do you start? But listening and asking, those are the two key things that I would recommend. And
Thank
yes,
you.
that's part of what we will be explicitly teaching. We have done implicitly. That is one thing we always support.
Thanks.
I have a couple of questions, and but I wanted to make a comment too, to follow on Tara's information. If you want to have some practice and get more information on handling mis and disinformation, the league has a civil discourse committee.
Yes.
And our events cover those particular areas. Our upcoming event, probably in June, is going to be about what should we teach in our schools and who makes the decisions of what we teach. And this is going to touch a little bit on mis and disinformation. But we've also had, in fact, there was video on the website that covers a session on mis and disinformation. And just email me if you want to join that mailing list for that committee, and I will be happy to add you to that mailing list. And a
I
question.
want to get on that mailing list.
Okay.
You guys have wonderful stuff. I was so glad when part of your work was about civil discourse.
Yeah, well, my background is also in facilitation, so it's kind of a natural thing.
Yeah, it is.
Are there similar programs like this in the Bay Area, or is this unique?
What are you asking me that?
I'm asking you, Tara.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Similar programs.
So
to
we're talking
Sunnyvale.
Leadership Sunnyvale. It
Yeah.
is not unique. I would say that the way we approach it is a little different from most, but many municipalities have a leadership something. Leadership Mountain View, Leadership Santa Clara, Leadership Cupertino used to have that too. Many of them are under the umbrella of their Chamber of Commerce. Some are under the umbrella of, I think, Morgan Hill is under the umbrella of the city, and we are a 501c3. So we are a standalone, non-profit public benefit organization. And so from that standpoint, I think I won't say it's unique. It is not the usual.
Okay, well, that's good to know. And you said that your member or your participation in this program is open to anyone in the area. Is that correct?
That's right. Live, work, or play, or are curious about Sunnyvale. But some of the things that we do in this are not specific to Sunnyvale. They are relevant to everybody else. The poverty simulation that we do with the Sunnyvale Community Services, that Mountain View has participated with us for the last couple of years with that. I invite other groups to participate with us. And let's see, so that would be one. The another kind of regional one is the environmental tour, where we have the water pollution control plant. That's not, it's, yes, we own it. It's not unique in the world, but we do have tours, and it is responsible for making sure that all of the black water and stuff is handled, and it goes into the bay when it's clean. It gets to secondary and tertiary cleanness, and it can be then purified for potable water. So we're working on all those environmental things as well. That's not unique to Sunnyvale. The the facility is Sunnyvale's, but it serves other cities as well. Although not, I mean, the water pollution control plant is Sunnyvale's, but the water purification plant is a for-profit endeavor in San Jose.
Mm.
So.
And you mentioned the ride-alongs and sit-alongs that you're going to restart next year.
Yes.
Could you talk a little more about that?
Sunnyvale has a unique police, public safety department, because they are police, fire, and EMT together. Every sworn officer is. And so one of the most effective ways for people to understand what the cops face and what they, how they handle themselves, is to take a ride along. And that just means going out for 2 hours or 4 hours or whatever. I think it's about 2 hours is what they usually do on some night of your choice with an officer, a sworn officer, and they will you will just ride around with them and whatever calls they go out on. And if there's a really bad call or officer shooting or some really dreadful thing like that, they will not take you on those. They will drop you off and get okay, but that's basically what is. And the sit along, we have a 911 operation, and the sit along is to observe that for a couple of hours if you're interested in that, and how they work, and how quickly they get things. How do they get things quickly out, and how do they manage the emergencies that people call in with?
Oh, that would be really interesting, I think.
Yeah, they are fascinating, just fascinating to see and hear. So that is part of, it will be back as a requirement of the process next year, but it is optional this year.
Okay. And what I'd like to, I have one more question at the end, but I wanted to give the opportunity to people who are on this call who have participated in your program to make some comments. Do we have, who are the participants in Leadership Sunnyvale? Okay, David.
Well, that's
We're
ambiguous.
both David.
Sorry to put you on the spot, David, but
Dave Filster, you want to go first?
Oh, okay, David Nusswanger, I will be. We always have this. Well, yeah, I mean, I've been, as Tara said, a member of the 23-24 cohort, and but I've been aware of Leadership Sunnyvale for decades. I've been living in Sunnyvale for over 40 years, so I've been very aware of the contributions of the people who are graduates to our city. And so I've always been interested in it, but now that I'm retired, I have some time and an opportunity to do this. And I'm really glad I have done it. I guess the first thing is the group of people in our cohort is really quite nice. It's a very diverse group, both in terms of age and background, and job responsibilities and so forth. And that makes for a really good interplay in conversation. I think, I mean, there's so many things we've done in our activities, like one of the most memorable to me was when we took the bus tour throughout the city of Sunnyvale with Trudy Ryan, our Director of Community Development. And boy, she knows so much about this city. And we went all the way around the city touring and pointing out all the different zoning issues and construction issues and so forth. We had our DPS day, the Department of Public Safety, and as Tara mentioned, the city's famous for having the integrated system. But we talked more about the economic impact, the budgetary impact of that, which I think is really good, and also to sit down and hear directly from policemen, firemen about their daily lives and what they do, see their equipment, the jaws of life, all that kind of stuff. It's really quite remarkable. The city government day was terrific. We met the city attorney, city manager, and others from the city, a city council member, and had a chance to hear really how they do their work. I did attend the optional city workshops as well, and seeing how the sausage was made is really quite amazing. We had a poverty simulation at SCS, Sunnyvale Community Services, which was really quite eye-opening about what it's like to try to imagine living like a person below the poverty line. Also the education day, the district day, that was really eye-opening to me. The becoming aware that there's so many districts that are all intersecting on Sunnyvale and other parts was quite surprising to me. And I'm looking forward now to the bus tour up to Sacramento in about a week, as well as the environmental day. So anyway, I think I'd recommend it to anyone. I think it's a really terrific experience.
okay. And the other David, you have some comments.
That's a hard act to follow, Dave. You have, I guess, I would echo everything that Dave said. And also, for me, I didn't appreciate the breadth of activity in the city government. And I've learned a lot about sort of nooks and crannies of government that I didn't know about already. Also, I have felt it's been a good way to network with people. The people in our class are not council members yet anyway, or anything, but they are interested in all different sorts of things, and it's interesting to me and helpful to learn about those things. And we have interacted with people who are influential, like Tara, and some of the council members have come to our sessions. So I guess I would say those are a couple of things that stick out for me.
Could you
And
say
also, I
some
met
are-
some of the people, some of you guys
Yeah.
in Leadership Sunnyvale because of the mock candidate forum that you did a few months ago.
Oh, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was. And I made myself obnoxious. I apologize.
Well, we not too often, but we do run into that from time to time. Could you say some more about the districts? You mentioned that the complexity and of districts.
Yeah, I mean, I could take that one. And Tara knows far more than I do about this, but I mean, it started when Trudy Ryan, she began her presentation by putting up all these different maps. So, there's of course the city boundaries, but then there are now the new election districts, right? Since we've gone to the district per council member. Then there are the school districts, right? Which are different. And we have many of them. And there's the hospital district, the Santa Clara Valley Water District. And of course, and there's more. I mean, and the idea that there was this, I forgot the name of it now, but it's like AFLAC. I can't remember the name, but it's the one that regulates district boundaries, which is
LAFCO.
LAFCO. That's it. AFLAC. I call it AFLAC. But it's the entity that regulates the boundaries. And these districts, those of us who pay property tax have seen these line items for years and years, and yet we don't always know, who exactly we're funding and how it's regulated. So that's one aspect of this. But anyway, the fact that our city government, it's not as simple as it would appear. It has to contend with all these different districts that overlap in different ways on the city itself. And therefore we have to have intergovernmental or interagency. What's the term of art here? The elected leaders who go attend to all of these
Intergovernmental responsibilities, IGRs. Yeah.
IGRs, that's it. But anyway, we have to participate as a city in all of these different district boards in order to ensure that our interests are served and that we have our fingers on the pulse. So it's a fascinating thing.
Any other comments or questions from the participants? Now's your chance.
Do you
Well,
have
only
a
that it's-
website?
Only that it's a fabulous experience. I also, as Dave does, recommend it highly to anybody who's interested in Sunnyvale.
Yeah, there is a website, leadershipsunnyvale.org. And there will be an article in the May Cupertino Sunnyvale League of Women Voters voter about Leadership Sunnyvale.
Okay, thanks.
And anything else? Because I have, okay, I have one last question. And that is, how can our league, Cupertino Sunnyvale, support Leadership Sunnyvale? And that's for Tara.
Support Leadership Sunnyvale?
Yeah.
Well, you have done yeoman's duty in supporting us on Political Day. I thought that was, I think that was the most successful political day that we have had, with the most coherent process, and a taste of what some of the electeds face if you decide to be an elected official, and get a little bite of what the league can do. It's just I thought it was just fabulous, and it was so I thought it was so generous of you all to be there for the day almost. So that was it was just a real pleasure, and it worked extremely well. So I'm hoping that you will continue to want to do that. And what I will do also is I'd like to conference with you about it and see how we might do it even better, more smoothly, or whatever. But I thought it worked quite well for everybody. And from my point of view, it was a better explanation and a better information about what people need to do and some of the resources available to them if they choose to go into any elected position, not just council.
Yeah.
Even though that was the case study, as it were.
And the League of Women, the Registrar of Voters also participated in that.
Yes, the
It's always
registrar.
valuable.
Yes, And yeah, and I thank you very much for the connection for that, because the connection I had was with the actual registrar, not the people who did the work. So that was that was very, very helpful. And I think they have never been they've never been involved before.
Ah,
So I think that was a strong addition, based and again comes down to connections. And thank you, as I say, you made that connection for me. So that worked extremely well, I think. And because you already knew the people, it made it easier. It made an easier ask. And it was hard for them because they had a very tight schedule for the things that were coming up for them. And they made time for it because of, I think it's all because of the connections they already had with you and that you had made the introduction. So that kind of support is what I see all over. And that's where I think we can all help each other.
Yeah, and we will be happy also to support Leadership Sunnyvale with publicity in our voter, in our e-blast for your classes and your events if you would like. Because we feel part of our mission is to share the resources that are available for elections, voting, and nonpartisan electoral activity.
Yes. Yes, that is, it's fabulous. And I know you have a partisan politics arm, and you have a nonprofit arm with the league, and it's the training part that you're representing here.
Yeah, well, we are nonpartisan overall, but we do have positions that we have studied and made public that we will support, but we do not support any candidates
Right.
or political parties. But we do have positions.
Yes.
Right, Roberta?
We are political.
We are. I have to admit, everybody is political.
Yep.
But you have several people on this call, Pam Anderson and Roberta and myself, who participated in your event last year and or earlier this year. And it was, we really felt it was an honor to be able to do that. Okay, any last chance for questions?
Well, I'd just like to chime in on that last subject. I thought the political day was really a great experience, and one of the things that was, eye-opening to me was to learn about how elections are run. Having both the registrar there, but also the city attorney who explained, what a candidate has to go through to get, registered and on the ballot, and then who actually runs the election. I thought that was fascinating. The second thing I would say is, League of Women Voters is one of those institutions that, I've been aware of all my life, I think. And yet I never really knew a lot about it. And I always sort of thought, well, that's for women, not for me. And I'm sure I've been disabused of that this misunderstanding. But I thought it was good PR for you to come to Leadership Sunnyvale and, sort of enhance your brand by, sharing what you do and how you do it, what your philosophy is. So I commend you for that. I think it was really well done.
Thank you. And Pam is there too. She opened her video for a brief moment there. She did a lot of work on that. Any other questions or comments? If not, I want to thank you all very much for participating, especially Tara. Tara and I have, full disclosure, we have known each other for many, 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 many years. And we first got to know each other from the American Society for Quality. And we were both very active in that organization for a long time. And I know that Tara is a former council member for Sunnyvale, and she has served her community in many ways for a very long time. So I want to commend her for that also. And thank you all for participating. And I hope to see you at upcoming events, both for the league. And remember, if you want to sign up for the Civil Discourse mailing list, just send me an email, because I can't add you unless you tell me it's okay. So have a great rest of your week, and we'll hope to see you in the next month for the coffee hour.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Then again, thank you.
And thank you all for coming.